have audio difficulties would be over that slight little conversation we had.
Okay, yeah. So, good morning, everybody. Steve, thank you for that that pointer that we were not having any audio. I'm believing this fixed things. Can you confirm or deny, please? Let me send him a message. Make sure we're doing okay here. Thank you, Steve. He said we're good now. I'm accepting fault for that one. I was basically just praising Jerry for juggling well. Jerry made some sexist remarks, and then and then the sound came back. So that's all you missed. We were saying,
deny it.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yesterday was a fun day in the Valeri house. I did find the time to squeeze in SmackDown last night, much to my chagrin. But it was a birthday celebration all day for my wife, so I got in late and I watched it late.
I didn't realize it was a milestone anniversary for Kelly.
Yeah, it was a big one. 4th decade, 40 years.
Yeah, that's special.
It was. We had a wonderful time. We had a very good time, and I had one mini meltdown. But Kelly just thought it was funny. Like, I lost my mind.
Oh, I know the Valeri meltdowns. I've seen them. At
this new place in town. There's this place in town called Happy Buns. It's a chain, but I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
It's a dump. Listen, they take a stale donut, they cut it in half, and then they put like frozen ice cream in it, and then they like cook it quickly, but the ice cream's like melted into the donut, and then they top it with like Fruity Pebbles and stuff, and it sounds okay. It sounds like it's going to be good and it's going to be tasty. We go there. They were super rude and weird. It was in a shady part of State College, which there aren't many of those. And then all of a sudden, the guy starts making fun of me because I couldn't get the napkin holder. Wouldn't let the napkins out, and they were ripping. He was like, "Oh, you don't know how to work a napkin holder?" I was like, "This place sucks, and we're never coming back. Your donuts suck, and your ice cream tastes like garbage. It smells like beer in here, and I think somebody pissed in the corner." And I was like, bah, 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 and Kelly was just humiliated. And I took the...
Wait, you said this to the guy?
Yeah, he made fun of me for the napkins, and I took the napkin thing and I slapped it.
For some reason, I thought you were having this meltdown to like your family. But
I was, but I was having it in the place at the guy.
Listen, God bless the man who has who is victim of a Valeri meltdown when food is around. Did the guy wind up wearing his donut ice cream sandwich like I did my Wendy's?
What I throw at you one day? Arby's.
You keep saying Arby's. I remember it was Wendy's. I'm not giving up on that. When you wear a Baconator, you remember it.
I threw a Dave's double at you.
Yeah, I remember it was your lunch. It wasn't my lunch that you threw at me. It was yours.
It's not a proud moment for me. You went and got me lunch, and then I got mad at you and threw it at you.
And you got mad. I mean, we're venturing off into radio stories again. I was like essentially an intern, and I had no problem getting people lunch or running to get sodas or coffee or whatever people needed. But what happened was, just a long story short, our boss asked me to do some work that he thought Jerry was not doing. I didn't realize it was already Jerry's job to do this. He needed me to like pull some audio stuff, and he asked me to do it. And when Jerry I didn't know it was a secret. I didn't know it was supposed to not tell Jerry that this was happening. And when Jerry found out I was assigned to this, he threw a Dave's double at me.
I did. I think I apologized.
You did apologize. You apologized the next day, and I forgave you. But I didn't do anything. I was just, Chris took me aside and was like, "Hey, can you pull some promos for us?" I didn't know it was Jerry's job as producer. Jerry's like, "You coming after my effing job? You want my lunch too?" He starts pegging it at me.
I should have gone to Wendy's last night, got some food, and went back into that place and started throwing burgers at that guy.
So I hold on. I hope people are into this, but I'm really so he makes the joke about you're not able to operate the napkin holder, which is a dumb thing for him to say. I agree. And how does it go from there?
It's just on top of my son's melting down. They're being impatient with us because we're not making our order fast enough because Allie doesn't know what she wants, and Kelly doesn't know how it works because it's this new thing.
You're cutting a donut in half and putting cereal and ice cream in it. Like, yeah, that's going to take a second.
It was totally weird, and I was just like, I was done and annoyed, and then I finally just kind of snapped, and I got in a little trouble for it later. She was like, you went a little overboard. I was like, well, that guy can die. I hope he dies.
Did you slap the napkin holder or throw it or anything?
I did. I didn't throw it. I just kind of like bang, and then it landed on the ground, but over the counter. But I didn't throw it at anybody. You can't say I threw it at anyone. I didn't get violent.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Oh, that's great, man. That's awesome.
Happy birthday, Kelly.
You told the guy his restaurant smelled like piss?
I did, and I thought the donut smelled like beer. It was a terrible thing. I've promptly gone and given them a 1-star review.
That is the millennial way of that was like the Gen X and the millennial way of handling the situation.
Right. I'm ready to go straight old fashioned 1876 and throw a Molotov cocktail through the window.
Did they know it was you, the guy from the radio?
I don't know, but they would after this morning if they listened.
What do you mean?
Well, I never said the name of the business because that would be frowned upon.
Oh, you told the story.
I told it some of the story. I didn't say anything about throwing the napkin holder because I don't want it to sound violent. I just said, what a stupid idea to take a donut with ice cream in it.
All right, everybody. Good morning. That was, I love that to start our day, man. Thank you. It's not like we've got much to talk about otherwise from SmackDown.
I'm sorry that I keep trying to think of creative ways to discuss SmackDown, but I don't want to put more thought into it than they do. And
listen, if SmackDown were a restaurant, I would be slapping the napkin holder off of the countertop onto the floor. Because they deserve it. Because this restaurant smells like piss and beer. Because you're rude and thoughtless. Like, yes, you're slapping all the napkin holders off of the countertop.
If we could give it a 1-star review, we would.
So where do you want to begin on this review? Because there's not much to it.
I mean, I'm just glad. I for a minute, I thought that they were going to start doing what Raw did. And like, not a gauntlet per se, but it was just the whole show was going to be the 5-way.
Yeah, and a lot of it was. And so here, I think I may have somewhat of a confession to make, at least to you. I feel like you may be right about something. Because this morning we were having a conversation on Facebook that we promptly stopped having. And I said I think SmackDown won the week. And you said you disagree and Raw did.
I disagree.
And now that I'm awake and ready to talk about wrestling, you might be right. But I'll let you pitch your argument first and you may convince me. Why was Raw better than SmackDown this week? Okay,
well, for one, I've thought about what we talked about as well. And I think I always have to concede one point always. And it's that Raw is an hour longer and that works against it. Like on a bad week, yeah. Yeah, like nobody's business. And that last hour of Raw I thought was garbage. But I just felt like Raw, at the very least, was very refreshing in its presentation. The wrestling was on point. Seth Rollins was so impressive. I enjoyed watching Raw more than I enjoyed watching SmackDown. SmackDown had more segments, and they tried to move things around a little bit more, and it focused on more people as a whole, but it all felt cold to me, and it all felt formulaic and done a million times. And from the AJ Styles interview at the beginning of the show all the way to the end of the show and the way that the main event wraps up, I was just like, I could have written this show. It's just not, it's not good. It doesn't have me interested at all. When the Usos and the Bludgeon Brothers and Gable and Benjamin, when your tag division is the most interesting part of your show, I'm sorry, but you have a problem.
Okay, so let me give a different outlook on this. So here's some plus and minuses to both shows this week. because for some reason I'm really torn. I go back and forth as to which show is better. Like you mentioned, Raw was an hour longer, and on a bad week, that's a huge notch against it.
And that extra hour was total garbage.
I did not find the presentation more refreshing, although I will say it was slightly different. The show was, in my opinion, written worse than SmackDown was. And SmackDown was not written well, but SmackDown was more dynamic in that several angles took baby steps. We at least got exposed to more stuff. Like you said, AJ stuff, got some jobbers in there, some tag stuff happened, women's stuff happened. It was a more dynamic show to me.
But the angles all fell flat. Like, you can't tell me that you're interested in Orton, Rude, and Mahal.
No, I'm not, but I don't want to say I liked the Mahal segment, but I will say when they teased that Mahal has like a bombshell announcement, and it was like I know it didn't wind up being anything great, but at least like I feel like they kind of tried with that segment a little bit. That was more creative than anything Raw did, in my opinion. Not saying it was great, but here's the thing. I feel like when everything is said and done, 5 years from now, we will never be talking about anything that happened on this SmackDown. We will likely remember the 2-hour gauntlet match that happened. And at the very least, while it was probably too long, it was still really good in-ring action that you could argue is 6 matches or you could argue is 1 match. But at least you got like 2 hours of pretty good action in that one segment.
Yeah, and they really did give us a memorable Raw for, like, we're talking 10 years down the road Raw, where you can reference it. You could be like, oh, that was the time period of the 2-hour match. And you're like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The Gauntlet Raw.
Yeah.
You know, there's something to be said for that. Plus, I think the in-ring action on Raw has been far superior for the past 3 to 4 weeks. And that's saying something, because I think that the in-ring talent on SmackDown should be better. But when you look roster to roster, I think just in-ring capability, SmackDown should be better than Raw, but it hasn't been.
I'd have to sit down and think about that one, but I will say Raw should be no matter what, because Raw has the extra hour. So the guys get more time to be taken seriously and put on a real match.
Okay.
So I don't know that that's an indictment on the talent or praise of the talent on Raw. You know what I mean? So That's the way I feel about that one. It was worth mentioning, I was getting hot last night because there were 2 jobbers who for most of the match were going nameless, but I did, thanks to Corey Graves, get some names. And if you give me a second, I can pull them up for you because I wrote them down.
Please do. I'm getting sick and tired of that as well. I'm getting sick and tired. This is like the second jobber match where they don't make a fuss about the names of the jobber. I want to know their names.
Listen, 2 guys are in the ring. I want to know their names. At the very least, I want to know their names.
Yes.
That's the base. That's like what you know. If you know one thing about somebody, it should be his name.
What's his name?
We speak your name. Eduardo Especial. He was the Hispanic gentleman.
Eduardo Especial. We speak your name.
Norville Rogers. We speak your names. And I believe there's I'm going to call it a 50% chance Corey Graves made those names up on the fly.
Are you enjoying Corey Graves more than a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you thought he was the drizzling, you know what?
Yeah, I did think that. Well, he's also come a long way too.
I think he's very much improved, and I'm glad, because I think they're settling in on him being the voice of this generation of wrestling.
I don't think we have a choice in the matter, man. I think it's just this is who we got.
We're getting Graves. That's it.
And I'll say this: we could do worse.
I like him. I like him more than Michael Cole. Michael Cole bores me. I'd rather have Tom Phillips than Michael Cole, because I think Tom Phillips is just a cleaner version of the boring Michael Cole is.
I like Michael Cole, but I think Mauro Ranallo is best.
Oh, Mauro is the best. Do you know that Tom Phillips is a Penn Stater?
I did not know that.
Yep. I work with a guy that was his roommate in college.
Who?
Thomas Frank.
No kidding.
Yeah, he was in comm classes with Tom and a guy, the voice of Penn State football and the voice of Penn State basketball, Steve Jones, talks about how he knows Tom Phillips, and he actually he recommended Tom not take the WWE job.
Who did? Who recommended that?
Steve Jones. He's a professor for comm, and he's like an old school sports guy. And he said, I told him, once you do wrestling, you'll be typecast for wrestling forever. And I said, yeah, but he's one of those guys that, and while I respect Steve quite a bit, a lot of those guys don't have respect for professional wrestling. They don't get it, and they never will. And why even try? They're in their 60s.
What awful advice.
Awful advice, because he's pretty successful now, Tom Phillips.
Oh, yeah. I would say he's very successful as far as, wrestling announcers go.
I feel like he'd have to really screw up at this point to lose that gig.
Yeah, no, I think he's doing just fine personally.
Yeah.
He doesn't move the needle much for me, but he's not bad.
Did Cole ever?
Yeah, not really. So
just get in there and don't screw it up, pal.
What did you think of the Jinder Mahal stuff last night?
Formulaic, boring. It's leading to a triple threat match. We know where it's going. I'm sick of this top 10 stuff already. Blah, 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 blah.
That was kind of different. Not great, but different.
They're not getting me excited for. They failed to get me excited for Jinder Mahal. I'm still waiting to get excited about Bobby Roode, and I'm actively disappointed with Randy Orton, and have been for over a year.
I don't disagree. The ship hasn't sailed on Roode for me. Jinder, I feel like is still giving it a good effort. Orton, I still like. I don't know. I don't want to say I actively dislike him, but I'm certainly, I think you used the word disappointed. That might be a good word to describe how I feel about Orton. And I know you're capable of having really good matches outside of a sudden RKO out of nowhere, but why aren't you doing it?
I just wonder if he and I are just never going to get back together. I get it. The whole crowd pops for him. He gets a response. There's no denying it. I used to really enjoy Randy Orton, and I don't know if he's all that much different than he used to be. But the bloom is off the rose for me, and I don't think there's any getting it back. And I've got to just suck it up. I have to suck it up because he's not going anywhere.
But in the ring, SmackDown did all right last night too. AJ had a good match with Kevin Owens. Wait, no, who was he with?
Dolph was with Kevin Owens.
Dolph and Kevin Owens had a really good match. And AJ
was Baron Corbin.
Yes, that was okay too, I thought. And then there's also, this is actually what I named the episode, because it was hard to think of what the big moment from SmackDown was. There really wasn't one. I went with Sami Zayn agrees to lay down for Kevin Owens at Fastlane. That's what happened, right? I'm not just dreaming that, right? That happened.
That is what happened.
That's kind of interesting. I'm sure it won't happen at the pay-per-view, but this is a cool kind of twist.
Yeah, we need twists. Where do you think this is going to end up? Because you know who's still not anywhere near this picture?
Oh, Nakamura?
Yeah. What the heck?
I believe we only saw him the week after the Royal Rumble. And that's
they had everybody foaming at the mouth for him versus AJ Styles. So what do? Put AJ Styles against 4 other guys. What a bunch of dumb stuff.
Well, he teamed with AJ 2 nights after the Rumble, and then unless I'm forgetting something, we haven't seen him since.
Why though? What? I'd rather see a 2-month build to their match at WrestleMania. Because I'm not convinced they're going to take the belt off of AJ. I don't think they're going to do that. I just hope they don't make the AJ Nakamura match like a fatal 4-way or something.
No, I'm worried that WrestleMania is going to get bogged down with a lot of multi-person matches too. I want that to be one-on-one. I agree. I want to see what they can do because this is the one the internet has been clamoring for. Nakamura, Styles, they've been clamoring for it. It's like, okay, let's make it happen and see if it's worth the clamor.
I want them to make it happen, and I want them to give them time. I hope they give them time.
Yeah, but how much? I mean, we got a lot of stuff to do at Mania too, but usually those matches do get a good bit of time. So we'll see.
I can't steal it, or I can't take credit for it, and I don't know who to credit. But I read somewhere earlier in the week, and it made me laugh that just because it's WrestleMania 34 doesn't mean you need that many matches.
Well, that's not the fact that it's WrestleMania 34. It's the fact that because the show is 14 hours long doesn't mean you need that many matches.
You don't need that many matches. It's gonna be super long again. You know it.
I mean, it's like back in the day, like WrestleMania's, like I don't know, 9 through 16. I'll say 9 through 15. Like WrestleMania's not for everybody.
Rob, you were in attendance for WrestleMania 18, correct?
Yeah, in Toronto.
Toronto. And in Toronto, what time did WrestleMania start?
I would say it was 8.
8 o'clock. Was there a pre-show of any kind? Any dark matches?
It was the Heat days.
Okay, so you got what, 4 hours that night or 5 hours of WrestleMania? As a fan, how long did you sit and watch wrestling?
Oh, I don't know, but it was less time than we went to a Super Show taping in Philadelphia in 2006.
You and I.
Yeah, that was a Raw and a SmackDown and a Heat and or whatever they were taping. There was a lot that night.
There was a lot, and I remember feeling fatigue at some point. Like at some point, you just get a little worn out. When you're asking someone to sit, my point of this whole thing of the questioning is, last year we worked it out that pre-show, dark match, everything from the minute people had to walk into the stadium till WrestleMania was over, they had about 8 hours of wrestling in, and that's a full day, and that's a lot to do.
I'll also be honest with you, and maybe it's because I've been to so many or I'm older now, but even at the house shows, which are like just at 3 hours, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And Raw, it's like, at least the Raw we got was good, but I've been to some Raws where it's like, what time is it over?
And now when people go to SmackDown tapings, they get the 2 hours and they've got to sit through the mixed match challenge, and then they've got to watch 205 Live, which they don't stay for.
Yeah, a lot of times they're not staying for it. You're right. So you're up in your pay-per-view lengths an hour or an hour and a half. I don't know. What were pre-shows an hour before, or were they a half an hour?
Pre-show kickoff shows have always been an hour. But I think that the action only lasts a little while.
Yeah, so it's like now we're back to 5 hours on a pay-per-view. That's a long time, man.
I read WWE said they're giving fans more for their money, but at some point there's a law of diminishing returns. Like, I know I paid $100 for my ticket, but that doesn't mean I want 8 hours of wrestling. Like I just want 3 hours of great wrestling. I just have 3 hours of really great wrestling. And maybe don't charge me $100. That'd be great too.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So interesting. Okay. Is there much else worth talking about?
Well, thank you, SmackDown, for making us talk about everything but your show, because that's really what's happened. What do you think about the Bludgeon Brothers? What do you think about the New Day going over Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin?
Well, the Bludgeon Brothers, I actually think they're already doing better than I expected them to do.
Right. Well, they're getting a monster push. I just hope it continues.
And they're kind of getting pushed properly. Like, it was like when their music hit, I believe it was right after a New Day victory or right around something with the New Day. It's like, it seemed imposing. It seemed like, we better get out of here, which is kind of what you want. It's almost like they paid attention to how they got Braun Strowman over, and they're trying to do it with these guys, and it's starting to work. Yeah, but it's also, it could still not, I still feel like they haven't even had, an angle really, or a big match on a pay-per-view. They're still kind of young, I feel like. They've got to carry a real feud and not just squash jobbers. Yeah, there's not much to like what's their name? Eduardo Hernandez and Nolo. Eduardo Especial and Nolan. It was Neville Rogers. Neville Rogers. Norville Rogers. Norville Rogers. Sorry, Neville. We don't speak your name. We don't speak his name. Another guy who pisses me off. Another guy. Is he still under contract with WWE? Yeah, not for much longer though. Okay. He wants to go, so. Why? It's just forget it. Just forget it.
This place smells like piss.
I wish there was a napkin holder in here for me to knock off. I would have come prepared. All right, so by the way, there is a tag team match for us to talk about on the predictions episode tomorrow.
What's the match?
Oh, I forget. It's the Bar versus
Gallows and Anderson, maybe. The Revival.
We'll look up the card tonight. So that's at least 5 matches there.
It'll be a quick one. It'll be a quick predictions episode.
Yeah, we'll find something to fill it with. Who knows what business Jerry Valeri will terrorize tonight?
Well, we'll figure something.
All right, man. Thank you for your help this morning, and hopefully SmackDown is going to get good here sometime soon. For myself, the Rob, my tag team partner in podcasting. See, I don't know if I might need to cut out your juggling because there's no sound, but you were an impressive juggler this morning. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Look at him go. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Jerry Valeri. Look at it's like George the Animal Steele. What would he eat?